Hello, we're going to talk about constructing Voronoi diagrams. So, when you construct Voronoi diagrams, there are 3 steps that you need to follow. The first step is to plot all of your points. The second step is to find the gradient and the midpoint between each pair of points. The third step is to draw all of your perpendicular bisectors between the pairs of points. Okay? And then you want to make sure to erase parts of the bisectors that you do not need. So, let's look at example 1. It says that we need to construct a Voronoi diagram for the sites -6, -5, and 0, 3. So I'm going to plot -6, -5, and I'm going to plot the other point for 0, 3. All right, so there are my points. So now that I've done that, I can now move to step 2. Find the gradient and midpoint for each pair of points. So I have 2 points, so I only have one of them to find. So if I find my gradient on my slope, which is M, my slope of AB, is equal to rise over run. So if I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my slope is 8 over 6 because I'm going from 5 to 3. And then it's going to be because I'm going from -6 to 0. Okay. So rise over run. So if I simplify that, of course, that will be 4/3. So now what I need to do is I need to find the midpoint. Well, you can use the midpoint formula, or to be honest, you can use common sense. If from A to B, if I went up 8 and then I went over 6, then common sense will tell me that in order to go halfway or to the middle, I need to go up 4 and over 3. Okay? So I'm just basically doing half of my rise and half of my run to figure out my midpoint. All right, so my midpoint is drawn. And my midpoint of AB is equal to -3, -1. All right. So now what I need to do is I need to draw the perpendicular bisector through. So remember your perpendicular slope. The upside down T is like a right angle, has a right angle. That's the symbol for perpendicular. You don't have to write the right angle inside of it. It could just be a regular upside down T. That's perpendicular. So my perpendicular slope is going to be a -3 over 4 because you got to flip and change the sign. So if I go from the middle, from -3 to -1, I have to go down 3 and then over 4 and plot my point. And remember, make sure you have a ruler or a straight edge. All right, so so as you can see, that's the Voronoi diagram. So basically, if I wanted to color it and I wanted to shade it, everything in this green side belongs over here. and everything in this purple region belongs over here. So that perpendicular bisector is going to divide, okay, divide the space directly between those points. Okay, so any point that's on that line is the same distance from A to B. Okay, all right. So now let's look at example B. So it says we have the points 8, -2. So if I go to 8, -2, I'm here. It says that I have -6, 4. So -6, -6, 4 is here. And then it says we have 3, 4. Right. So remember, when you're doing this, you have to go 2 points at a time. So let's look at B and C. Okay. So if we look at B and C, we have to find the slope. Okay. If we look at the slope, a slope of 0 because it's horizontal. So we know that that is we know that that's a horizontal line. So I know that a line that's perpendicular to that has to be a vertical line. Okay. So I found my slope. Now I need to find my midpoint. Well, if you think about it, from -6 to 3, I went 9. So that means I need to go 4.5. So I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a half. So I'll go right here. So I can tell that my midpoint is located at -1.54. Okay. And then I also know that I should have a vertical line because a vertical and a horizontal line are perpendicular to each other. Okay. So that is one bisector that I have drawn. So now I need to go and get another 2 points. So now let's look at A and C. Okay, we look at our slope from A to C. Our slope, our rise, we went from 4 to -2, so we went down 6. And then for the X values, we went from 3 to 8, so we went over 5. So that's -6 over 5. That is the slope. And I'm going down, which means that my midpoint, I'm going to go down 3 and over 2.5. So down 3 over 2.5, it lands me here. So that's going to be at 5.51. All right. And then my perpendicular slope, is going to be a positive 5 over 6. So that means I need to go up 5 and over 6. If I run out of room, I can go one way. So I can go up 5, but I can't go over 6 from the midpoint. So I can go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go over 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right here. All right. So that's that bisector. So So now I can draw this bisector. All right, so now I have to do my last bisector. My last bisector is going to be between A and B. Okay, so one thing I do want to point out is that the perpendicular, in case you're wondering where the perpendicular bisector for BC was, or the slope of the perpendicular line, remember the slope is undefined. Okay, if it's a vertical line has an undefined slope. All right, so we need to do the perpendicular bisector for A and B. So if we look at AB, we need to find our slope. So if we look from B to A, we went from 4. I'm looking at the Y values. We went from 4 to 2. So we dropped 6. And then if we go from -6 to 8, that was 14. So our slope is -6/14. All right. So now from the midpoint, remember the midpoint, I just need to go halfway. So instead of me going down 6 and over 14, I'm going to go down 3 and over 7. And my midpoint is here. All right. So my midpoint is located at 1, 1. All right. So now I need to find my perpendicular bisector. I need to find that slope, which is going to be positive 14 over 6 or positive 7 over 3. So once we do that, we can go up 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. All right. All right. So here is our perpendicular bisector. All right. So we have all three of them drawn. So now we need to figure out which parts are we going to keep. So you have to keep one part of the bisector. You have to erase one part and keep the other. So a lot of times what you're going to do is you're going to look and see where they intersect at, where the vertex is, and you're going to erase the part of the bisector next to the vertices. So for instance, I'm going to use my highlighter. So let's say for this bisector here. So as you can see, we have this bisector. As you can see, I have to have the top part of the purple bisector. I have to have that part because if I don't, B and C won't be separated. So I can technically erase this part down here of the purple one. I don't need that part. All right. If I focus my attention on the next bisector, I'm going to highlight the orange one. I need this part of the bisector because I had to separate A and C, but I don't have to draw the other part after that. All right. So I've gotten that one. So now for the one between A and B. So if I look between A and B, if you look at the bisector here, this bisector is already inside of a cell already. So you don't need this part, but you do need this part over here. So that way you can divide the area of here that's not separated, because without this line that's highlighted at the bottom, A and B would not be separated. It wouldn't have like a fence. So we don't need this one up here for the green one. And then you will be able to see that your Voronoi diagram looks like this. And I'm going to highlight it with red just to make it pop out a little more. All right, so that's my Voronoi diagram. All right, so that's how you construct them. So remember, the first step always is to find your slopes, find your midpoints. Once you do that, then what you're going to do is find the opposite reciprocal slopes. And then once you find your opposite reciprocal slopes, then you are going to draw your bisectors and then erase the parts of your bisectors that you don't need. Okay, because remember, you don't need both halves of it. You only need one part of it. So this is our bisectors in our Voronoi diagram for this one. And it will look like that. Okay, so next, example 2. It says this Voronoi diagram is missing the edge. So if you notice, you have this cell. There's a fence around C. There's a fence around B, but there is no fence separating A and D. So that's where the bisector needs to be drawn. So the first thing that you need to do between A and D is you need to find a slope. So the slope between A and D, you went down from 7 to 1, so you went down 6. And then you ran from -2 to 5, so you ran 7. So that is your slope. And of course, we need to find the midpoint. So the midpoint would be to go down 3 and over 3.5. So down 3 from D, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.5. So my midpoint is here. So my midpoint is located at 1.54. All right. And then we already know this perpendicular slope is going to be a positive 7 over 6, excuse me. So I know I can go up 7 and over 6, but I can't go up 7 from 4 because that'll put me at 11. It's too big. So I need to go down 7 and left 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then go left 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is my other point here. Now remember, once you touch a vertice, you do not have to finish drawing the rest of the line because you already have a vertice. So what I can do is I'm going to start drawing from here, and then I can stop. And there is my bisector. Okay, that is my bisector. So that's how we would draw that. So now they said we want to write the equation of the missing edge. So remember, to write the equation, all we need to do is put the equation in point gradient form. So the equation of this line is going to be y minus 4 is equal to the slope of the perpendicular line, which is 706, times x minus 1.5. And 1.5 is the same thing as 3/2. So of course, I would need to distribute, right? 21 over 12 will simplify to 7 over 4. So if I wanted to here, right? Then the next thing that you would do, it says in general form. Remember, general form is ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. So I want to get everything to one side by itself, and I don't want any fractions. So I would say that take that 7 over 6 over, make it negative. The y stays positive. And then we're also going to keep the negative 4 negative. So we got negative 4. But then remember, we got to add the 7 over 4. So negative 4 plus 7 over 4, because remember, it's going to turn positive. That's going to turn into negative 9 over 4. And that's going to be equal to 0. So now that we got that in line, we can then multiply by something to get rid of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything in this equation by 12. And then that will get rid of my fractions. So negative 7 over 6 times 12 is negative 14x. And then we're going to have plus 12y. And then 12 times negative 9 over 4 is negative 27. And you could put that in the calculator. 7 over 6 times 12, negative 14. Negative 9 over 4 times 12 is negative 27. So you can write your equation in general form like this, or you can write it as a positive 14x minus 12y plus 27 is equal to 0. So either one would be correct. It's up to you how you write it. It doesn't matter. They're both saying the same thing. All right. So now the next example, it says find the missing coordinates. Find the coordinates of the missing site C. So if we look at this Voronoi diagram, we can tell that there is a site missing somewhere in here. So what I'm going to do is, when I look at it, I know that I should be the same point. And one thing that I notice here is, I notice that there is a horizontal line. So that means that whatever site that is in this region, because that horizontal line is a fence, I know that there should be a point directly across from that line, directly across from D. So D is 4 units away from the line, which means that the other point on the other side, or the other side, should be 4 units away as well, which we'll put it here. So this is coordinate C. All right. So the coordinates of C is located at 3, 2. All right. If you have any questions, please reach out and ask your teacher. Have a great day.